Not yet. Okay, so just to start this off, I'd like to take a poll. I want you to raise your hand if you either have a Facebook, an Instagram, or a Twitter. Keep your hand up if you have two of the three. All three of them. All right. I want you to take a look around the room. Every single person in here has one of the three. So we're going to move on, but I want you to keep that in mind during this presentation. I'm going to be talking about social media. Now, social media has a huge variety of aspects, so it would take hours to talk about it all, but I'm going to talk a little bit about its history, about the psychological impacts it has, and about other impacts it can just have on our daily lives. So, let's begin with the history. The first big social media platform was a platform called 6 Degrees. Now, this came out it was kind of big between 97 and 2001. Now, 6 Degrees is named after the theory of 6 degrees of separation, which means that everyone knows everyone else in the world between at least 6 other people. And basically, 6 Degrees was just a way that people could chat. It was really, really basic. You would make an account and a user could friend another user and they could chat. And that's just about what 6 Degrees had. As we move on a little bit, we can make our way towards MySpace, which was the first really big social media account. I think at its peak it had 70 million users. And it was big for musicians, 75.9 million users. It was really big for musicians to promote their music. And as we continue to move on, our biggest social media giant was Facebook, which I'm sure we are all very familiar with. It was created in 2004 by Mark Zuckerberg and now boasts over 1 billion users. So, we can see a lot of common trends. A seventh of the world has Facebook. Every single person in here probably has Facebook. So we can get to thinking, what are we so fascinated by when it comes to social media? Now, there's many different psychological aspects. According to Lance Brown, a Harvard research group tested a group of people with a series of questions, all hooked up to an MRI machine, so they could see what triggered what parts of their brain when these questions were asked. And it was really clear that the researchers found regions of the brain associated with reward were really lit up when someone was talking about themselves and less engaged when they were talking about someone else. So this kind of shows that people really like to show off their own life and have a sense of validation when other people can see it. Now, according to a doctor of psychology, Pamela Rutledge, quote, "Social validation is important. Facebook is like a social giant. It affirms our existence the same way that someone nodding at you on the sidewalk does. But we're all just learning to use social tools, experimenting to find out what it all means." So, there's many different psychological aspects that trigger this kind of addiction towards social media, and through my research, I've kind of found that there's not one key answer. There's a lot of different reasons why we are really into social media, and most of it comes from a psychological standpoint. Now, that is usually what people talk about when people say social media can have a huge impact on our lives, but there are other ways that social media impacts our lives. And one that is becoming more and more prominent is the aspect of privacy in our lives. So, what a lot of people don't realize is that the internet is a very dangerous place. Now, more than any other time, people are able to see lots and lots of information, and people are much less careless with where they post that information. So, what has been a huge problem with social media recently is jobs and networking, seeing potential employees. Now, according to a study by Lance Kerr, 1 in 10 people applying to a job between the ages of 16 and 34 have been turned down for their social media, which is huge when you think about it, because we are all in that age group and we are all looking for jobs. And again, we all, including our professor, have social media accounts where we are posting private information about our lives. And so that can have really negative results in our future. But that's not the only way that social media can, in fact, impact our privacy. According to a study on 50 ex-convicts, said there was a 78% chance that they would check Facebook, Twitter, Foursquare, all social media sites before burglarizing a home. So a lot of people can slip out that they're going on vacation, or even when they talk about the weather where they are and other little bits and pieces of information about themselves, can they see, oh, this person isn't home, we can break in, making them a lot more vulnerable. Now, in conclusion, when people talk about social media, it usually has a negative connotation that it's poorly impacting people's lives, people are not going to be able to communicate with each other anymore. I personally think that social media is an important aspect of life if done in moderation, and that we all just need to be careful of our actions. And that is it.